I think as we've gone through the year, that was a big focus for us. Probably in the middle part of the year, we weren't hitting on quite as many of those as we wanted to. Right there around the NC State game, and really spent some time studying that and seeing what we could do to improve that. And I really feel like the last 3 to 4 games, our guys have gotten on the same page, and we've been able to connect on a lot of those balls, and that'll be a big part of the game Monday night with all the man coverage, match coverage that we expect. Our guys have done a really good job in practice here over the last few weeks, getting ready with those one-on-one situations. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing it wasn't one person. I think it's easy as a fan or somebody on the outside to sit there and maybe look at the quarterback in certain situations, but really some of it was on the wide receivers, some of it was on maybe the protection up front, and the ball having to come out a little quicker than it was designed to come out. But the biggest thing that we took away was everybody has a hand in it, and and that's why football is one of the greatest team sports, because it takes 11 people doing their job, not just a quarterback or just one wide receiver getting open. There's a lot of people involved in that, and so that was really, as we studied that was the overall message to the guys is, hey, these are some areas we need to improve in. There's also some other areas that we needed to improve in. That was one that we spent a little time, did a study, and brought to our guys and made a big point of emphasis, and I felt like the guys embraced that, and do the things throughout the year. This is kind of our goal, obviously, is to get to the playoff, and this is the third year in a row we're playing 14 games. If we win this one, it'll be the third year in a row we're playing 15 games, and so you're always trying to improve. Coach Sweeney is always telling our guys, if you're ever through improving, then you're through, and he challenges our guys that the teams that are going to be playing late in the year are the ones that are always striving to improve and finding things that they need to work on, and really not just getting satisfied. And I feel like that's one of those areas that we really were able to challenge our guys, and I feel like we're throwing the ball and catching it as well as we have all year now.
Jeff, the depth that you guys have had at receiver, and we talked before the season, and then running back, how has that impacted the offense, identity-wise, play calling-wise, the evolution?
Yeah, I think number one, again, going back where our goal is to play a lot of games, and so as you're going through the season, we want to be sure that our guys are going to be fresh, throughout the year, not getting tired towards the end of the year. I think maybe early on, a few years back, we didn't rotate quite as much as we do now. I think our guys got a little leg heavy later in the year, and then also taking that same perspective into a game. I think the game last year, I think it was a good prime example. Our starting wide receivers on that last drive, were somewhere around a 60 to 62 play count, where maybe the defense was in the 90s, and all of a sudden in that fourth quarter it makes a big difference. So that's been a part of our formula, but you can't have that philosophy if you don't have talented players. You can't just go to any team and say you're going to play 9 wideouts. It could be really ugly at times. So I think we've been very fortunate to recruit a lot of quality depth. I really feel all 9 of my wide receivers are, from a skill and talent standpoint, are worthy to be a starter. And so those guys know that, and they know the expectation. I made a big point to our guys this week that in last year's game, it was a backup, Deion Kane, that really made the play that really changed the game for us offensively. We'd spent a quarter and a half really not getting anywhere, and Deion came off the bench, and we threw a screen, and he had that nice big play that really got us going. So my challenge to those backup wide receivers and also the backup running backs is, who is that going to be this year? It's going to be one of you guys that's going to have that opportunity to make that big play at some point in the game that really could have an impact and a change in this game on Monday night. Well, I think number one thing, the culture that Coach Sweeney has created helps with the entitlement issue. I think our guys know coming in that there's no entitlement. I think hopefully the way that Tony and I co-coordinate the offense, and the way that that our players approach everything is it's not about one player, it's not about one coach. It's really about the offensive success, and whatever that looks like, that's what everybody's goals are. And you know, if we worry about the offense and team success, there'll be plenty of credit. You know, here we are showing up in the playoff now for the third year in a row, and for us, it's never really been about one guy or another guy. But you know, I think the way that we practice, you know, we roll those guys in practice. I think to be a true tempo team, you have to understand how to roll your players. And so, to be honest, a lot of times I don't even have to do it. You know, if Dion runs down the field on a long pass play, and the ball's incomplete, DeAndre Overton's already running on the field. Dion's looking for him. He's coming off the field, and that corner has to run 50 yards back and then go again, and you got a fresh guy going against him. So, you know, we kind of look at the games as a 10-round boxing match, and you know, offensively, we're changing our boxer every round, and they're having to keep the same guy in there. So round 9 and round 10, you know, that really becomes an advantage for us. And you know, just overall defensively, a lot of coaches don't want to play a lot of backups because of, you know, if a defensive player makes a mistake, it can cost you a touchdown. If an offensive player makes a mistake, it's, you know, 2nd and 15, and it doesn't cost you points. But it's been part of our formula, and I think also when we look back over these last 3 years, and whether it's 44 or 45 games, we're going to look at our depth as being one of the big reasons that allowed us to play at such a high level. Not just play in that many games, but you know, play at such a high level and have the success we've had in those games.
How long did it take to calibrate that formula? Was that something you always wanted to do but need to get the players for it? Or did it?
Well,
games like the LSU Peach Bowl kind of teach you.
Yeah. Well, number one, it came from Coach Sweeney's philosophy from the top, and his philosophy has always been he's always challenging us as coaches to play more players, and he wants to play everybody that deserves the opportunity to play. And so he's really challenging us on that. And, you know, on Sundays, he's looking at that play count, and he's wanting to know sometimes earlier on. And I think we haven't had as many issues, but early on, he's wanting to know why these backups aren't playing more, and that the only way that they're going to develop as players is if they get opportunities to play, and, hey, they've earned opportunities to play. So that mindset and that culture has already kind of started from the top. And then I think for us, now just putting together 4 and 5 talented recruiting classes together have gotten us to this point. I think starting off, you know, back in 2011 and 12, we probably had 4 wide receivers or 5 wide receivers at one point that we felt really good about. And, you know, going into that LSU game, Martavis Bryant was not traveling with us. Sammy Watkins gets hurt on the 2nd play of the game. And, you know, I remember DeAndre Hopkins played 101 plays in that game. And that was his last game, which is absolutely incredible. And then on that last drive, 4th and 16, makes one of those key plays. And so we've come a long way from that point to now having enough depth where our starters are somewhere in that 50 to 60 play range.
Coach, what are some staples in Jeremy Pruitt? You've seen him now a couple times as you watch the film. Do you see trends, things you continue to see out of his defenses?
Yeah, the first thing that you see is they're very, from a schematic standpoint, they're going to challenge you. They don't give up any easy plays. There's no easy yards to be found. They're going to challenge you at the line of scrimmage with the front 7. They're always going to have an extra hat in there in the run game. And then from a passing standpoint, you know, they're not going to give you any free releases. They're going to make those wide receivers have to work hard and earn every release, and everything's going to have to time up exactly right to be able to hit a big play down the field. And that's really what you see from, you know, the most talented defenses. We're very fortunate that we go against a talented defense every day in practice. And I can tell you, you know, Coach Venable's defense, he makes you earn it, even in practice, spring practice, fall camp, game week. There's no gimmies out there, and that's the same thing I see from Alabama's defense.
Jeff, happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
When's the last time you spent a birthday that wasn't on the road or something like that and just celebrate yesterday?
Yeah, well, it's been a good thing. Pretty much my whole life, other than about 4 years when my dad was coaching at South Carolina, I've been at a bowl game. Yeah, that's right. That was the one year. Actually, what I do remember, 1989, we were here when my dad was on the staff at Florida State. We played Auburn in the Sugar Bowl. We were staying in the same hotel, and we were on the 19th floor. And the night before the game, I was 9 years old. The night before the game, the fire alarm went off, and it was not me. It was a kitchen fire, and we had to go down 19 flights of stairs in the middle of the night. That's what you remember at 9 years old. But I do remember the Sugar Bowl being a special time, and really, you know, I was very blessed growing up in a coach's family. You know, when my dad was at Florida State, you know, they went to big bowls like this every single year. So that's kind of what I grew up around. And, you know, now my daughter, Savannah, she's kind of getting spoiled in the same way. This is her third college football playoff bowl. So this is kind of the expectation, I think, for her. So she's off to a good start.
She's never been alive when